we're just going to jump right into this. Josh, I have a lot of questions for you about what managed services is, how we do it. So hopefully you're ready to be on the hot seat today, and I get to not be on the hot seat, which is always delightful for me. So what is managed services, right? Like I've heard the term used for years, right? And you know, arguably as someone who's been a strategic consultant or staff augmentation or you know all kinds of other different roles, I've heard that part of my job in the past might have fit into some elements of managed services, but what is it? What is the model, and why is it becoming so popular right now?
Yeah, complex question. Managed services is a lot of things, and it's honestly a different definition for every customer.
Oh, the classic, it depends. I love it. All right, good start.
It really does. You know, but to answer your backup question there is why it's so hot right now, security. That's why managed services is top of mind, you know, but overall, let me go into a little bit about managed services. You know, some customers have no IT department, right? So that's why they come out to us for managed services. Other customers have a full-fledged IT department, but have roadblocks or pain points that they don't know how to solve. And that's why they come to us for managed services. It really depends on where your pain points are, what your goals are within IT as overall business. And then into the specifics like proactive monitoring and maintenance, network and infrastructure management, including hardware lifecycle, licensing, you know, making sure everything's always on, always connected, data backup and disaster recovery, security services, like I mentioned, and I'm sure we'll get more into it down the road, talk more about that. Help desk and technical support. We include a very comprehensive ticket management process and escalation process to smooth the help desk approach for all of your employees, whether remote or on site. Basic software updates and patch management, very good reason. IT consulting and planning, and then cost predictability. With IT management, budgets can sometimes fluctuate year to year, right? You might have a very high spending year and then very low spending year. So to better allocate funds every year to IT and making sure IT is doing what it needs to, we're seeing more companies want a subscription-based model so they can predict their costs that are going to come every year and prevent those 100,000, 200,000 headaches, you know, that can come up when you have IT issues.
Sure. All right. Great. All right. Well, so that helps me understand the basic framework of it. And, you know, I know as an organization, we've been offering managed services, or we had some of our first initial discussions around it back in like 2015, 2016. And I know we've been offering solutions in that space for quite some time. So I guess my next question then is like, what kind of industries and what kind of businesses have we supported? And recognizing that many industries are like extremely difficult from a regulatory perspective. Have we been successful in some of those areas that have some of those high regulatory requirements, and like kind of where have we aligned best? What kind of businesses have we worked with?
Yeah, and really we work well with anyone, you know, nonprofit, manufacturing, pharmaceutical, healthcare, local government, construction, law firms. I mean, I could go on and on with this list.
Keep going on. Yeah.
But the most important thing about these is everyone on our team comes from a different place of life, right? We all didn't start at Synergy. I came myself from healthcare, local government, education, and retail focus. We have other people on our team from manufacturing focus, pharmaceutical focus from their past life. So not only do we know Synergy's world, but we also know the world of manufacturing, the world of healthcare, best practices within each business structure. And to your regulatory frameworks, it's a growing concern for all customers, right? Cybersecurity, it's just starting. You know, AI, it's working for businesses, but it's also working for the bad guys too. You know, they're using AI to develop frameworks to hack you faster and quicker. That's why it's more important now to have security standards, even if they're basic security standards, in place to make sure you're keeping your data protected and your customers protected. We've done this in multiple facets, but one customer comes to mind is, you know, very strict CMMC, NIST guidelines that they have to follow, they have to meet to obtain cyber, security insurance. And we help them guide through that process. We have compliance as a service that can be added on to any managed service package that we offer. And we'll help you every year, meeting regulatory standards. If people are asking you to fill out a questionnaire to better get coverage for cybersecurity, or to make sure you have everything in place to obtain cybersecurity insurance, we can help through that whole process. It's a big headache. It's only going to get more complex through the years too. Government regulations are coming. We've seen it in the EU. It's only a matter of time until it hits the United States. So that's a great point out, Adrian. It's one of the biggest reasons people are reaching out to us today.
Yeah. So, for those who are watching later, and I'll try to make sure we get links up in the YouTube published video for this, but we did a webinar either early this year or late last year around Microsoft Priva, which was their privacy risk management capabilities that aligned to some of those burgeoning regulatory concerns that are starting to pop up all over the U.S. And to that point of that, that they are popping up. Right now, they're popping up at a state's level, and there is absolutely no question that at some point there will be some sort of federal overarching privacy regulations that come in. And it has been a fascinating thing to watch grow, because we've been presenting on compliance tools and management capabilities like Compliance Manager and Microsoft and some other third-party solutions since their inception, which was actually 2 years after we started in the managed services space. So you're right; it's been expanding at an absolutely insane rate. At one point, I actually had a statistic on the average number of new regulations that go into effect every day. That became a little bit difficult to track over time. So we can play different regulatory frameworks. We can help customers align their concerns to those frameworks. We can obviously then also deliver within those frameworks, and in some cases that may mean nationality requirements for the support staff that's there. What about the sizes of the organization? So I mean, my background prior to Synergy was at a global manufacturing organization, and we had mixed success with outsourcing some of those things. And I recognize that simply outsourcing some of those job roles isn't the same as a managed services offering, but you have organizations that may already have some IT infrastructure from a personnel perspective. Does our managed services offering play well with that, or is there a fear of territoriality when we come in? Is there a how do we help organizations that already have an established IT staff implement managed services in a way that makes them feel safe and makes it feel collaborative for them?
Yeah, company size, it doesn't matter. As long as you have about 10 to 15 employees and you're looking to grow your company and you see a scale, that is coming to your growth plan, that's the time for a small company to reach out to get managed services in place. As full as if you have an IT department, yes, people are very territorial of their staff. No one wants to let go of anyone, especially today. You want to keep your talent, you want to keep them on. And it's a very thought out concern, but it's a concern that shouldn't be top of mind when you're looking for managed services. We love to work with your IT department. We love working with people who know how your business functions, know where you guys have your goals, where you guys want to be in 3 years when it comes to an IT side. And that's where you bring on managed services to help propel that. Instead of something taking 3 years to roll out, you bring in a managed service provider, they take off all of the boring, non-meaningful tasks like updates, patching, help desk support. Get that off your shoulders and go focus on more things that will bring more revenue to your company, whether it be a big ERP rollout, or moving your infrastructure to the cloud, or helping develop business-specific applications or Power App processes that help simplify other areas of business, right?
So I feel like you're actually attacking my past with that very specifically, because when I came into the cloud, as Christina mentioned, like I've been doing Microsoft Cloud Solutions since their inceptions, right? Since Exchange was hosted on 2007 on the back end, and I was very adversarial in the process, right? I did not want to see even a cloud adoption. To heck with the concept of managed services, just like replacing anything that I did with something that was supposed to make it easier made me feel like my job was at risk. And I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
having conversations with both providers and with senior management that said, you're wasting so much of your day-to-day efforts monitoring logs, looking back at things. You're not really able to focus on delivering on outcomes, right? You're not able to focus on outcomes. You're always in a firefighting mode. So if we can take off your firefighting hat and allow you to put on your strategic hat, how much more, would we be able to deliver in that year? So, and to that point, we were in the middle of an ERP rollout, right? And so I felt like you very specifically called me out on that. But so like being able to move from constantly firefighting to being able to be more strategic and more invested in the actual business of what your company does as an IT person. Like I I personally, for probably the first decade of my career, had no bandwidth to worry about what the company I was working for actually did.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so I, that would be very, very helpful to me, right? In
Yeah,
that
and
first
that's
decade of my career. Yeah.
a great point out, and that's one thing I wanted to mention is, it's not just about working with IT when we're talking IT. It's working with every department. It's working with sales. It's working with finance. It's working with your COO. Whoever is over operations. There's a customer I work with right now where their cybersecurity department is completely separate from their IT department. Those two departments need to be walking hand in hand every day, making sure you're hitting the requirements that are needed. But that's where we come involved. That's where we come in. We know how to have those conversations. They're often complex and very uncomfortable conversations at first, because you get departments sort of fighting against each other. Well, one wants one tool, but IT doesn't see how that flows and works for everyone else, right? So it's really understanding everybody's process and each segment, and developing your business through IT, because that's where is going to get you the most growth. That's when it gets you the most growth in revenue year over year.
Wow. Yeah. All right. And did I hear you say all the way down to like 10 to 15 people? Like, are we really able to service organizations that, I mean, at that point, you don't have an IT department. You're lucky if you have somebody who knows how to do SneakerNet and run over and install applications. I'm not saying anything poor
Yeah.
about smaller organizations, but like, it's very difficult at that size to actually have anybody whose real dedicated function is IT. Are we able to truly operate in organizations of that size?
Yeah, so 15 user count is our lowest number for our official packages within the managed service offering, right? But if you are smaller than that, you can still use this for project-based managed services. There's plenty that we can help you with and guide you along your path. It would be a little different setup if you're smaller, but definitely 15 is the smallest for our basic, premium, and ultimate packages. But we really help any size customer.
That's fantastic. Because I mean, I've done independent consulting for organizations of that size, and for the most part, back in these days, this was about a while ago for me. Like, they didn't really know what they didn't know, right? There was, where do we even start, right? And so, I will tell you, in full disclosure, I was looking at some of our managed services offerings offline before we had this call, and if as a small business I could just not worry about some of the basics of like endpoint monitoring and patching, like what a load that would take off, right? Because I
Yeah.
worked in plenty of places where it came down to Windows Update notifying the end user and them having to take action on that personally. So that,
Yeah.
like, it does sound like there's actually a real opportunity for even improving the day-to-day life of the user from getting out of firefighting mode, right? So
Yeah,
that
and it's really this. I mean, this is a very common question that comes up with customers who have never been in managed IT services before. They don't know what they're getting into. It's normally the CEO or COO that's doing the day-to-day IT functions. They don't know what they're doing really, but they have a little knowledge, right? To be dangerous. But it comes up a lot. But with small businesses, it gives you a focus on business processes. So get that IT out of your head. It's a big headache. It's annoying. We know it. Give it to us. It gives you access to expertise. So we have a load of technicians that have been doing this for years, some of them decades. Lean on us when you have questions or hit roadblocks. And then the basic thing that small businesses get out of our package is a 24/7 security operations center. So that's something that is needed to obtain cyber insurance. And it's a very low cost item that we can help. And it's a 24/7, make sure everything's running smoothly. If anything alerts us, we are proactively managing and clearing out whatever activity is being done. Um, and it also allows you to, meet with me and whatever account executive you get attached to really develop a business plan around IT, not just patching issues that are coming up, but really let's think about the big picture, where you want to be 3 years from now, where you want to be 6 months from now, right? And sort of build that growth plan to help you get to where you need to go.
That's awesome. So aside from the strategic side of things, we're talking about, plans for future, and we'll come back to that because I do have a question for you on that one too. One of the people I worked for years and years ago at DoD actually had this idea that IT should not be, it shouldn't be this feared department, right? It should be a utility, right? You plug your computer in and it should just work, just like you do with electricity, just like you do with a phone line, just like you do. You flick a switch and it just works, right? And it sounds to me like a lot of what we're talking about in those the services all the way down to 15 people kind of take a lot of that IT and just turn it into a utility. And that excites me in ways that it's very difficult to explain how much that excites me. This idea that I don't need to be an expert in this anymore. It just works. I plug it in and it just works. But there is one challenge that utilities struggle to scale with, and I kind of curious to get your take on whether or not our managed services kind of utility model scales too. And that is once the user is not in the facility anymore, right? How do we deal with things like remote work or some of the challenges that we've seen over the last 3 years? Are we able to scale with growth in remote work? Do we have any sort of like requirements for connectivity? How does that work?
So there's multiple different ways. It really depends on how your business, runs. It's all, always depends, right? Depends on the situation. But one is hardware lifecycle management. So if you have remote workers that are working on hardware that is owned by your company, we can help procure, image, test, and ship to the end user. So it is, ready to go as soon as they turn it on. That process can also be escalated by using Microsoft Autopilot, which we help set up customers every day. It's a simple image SKU that you add to your hardware purchase, and it auto loads the customer information. So when it ships out to the customer, they log into their Microsoft profile, and up the customer or the employee is ready to go. Right, very smooth process. Then there's a couple other instances that have come up and are getting more popularity ever since 2020. Right, the coveted C word we don't mention anymore. But Windows 365, we're seeing a big push for Windows 365 environments with Microsoft hosted PCs, right? We also can create Azure virtual desktops, that your employees can log into on any device from anywhere and be able to work within your approved company virtual browser. So, it's not always a hardware fix. It's not always about adding another tool. Sometimes what you already have, or Microsoft, within the Microsoft world, we can help expand that to simplify your processes.
Yeah, and we do actually, I'll call out again, we do have a pretty good body of work on Azure Virtual Desktop, Windows 365, even a comparison of like when would you choose which, costing models, all that stuff we already have that information out there. There's YouTube videos out that we've produced on it. And we've talked a lot about some of those light touch provisioning capabilities. In fact, I think our webinar last month or the month before was on Intune, and we mentioned in that one, and Christina gave me a link back to a video that we did from like a year and a half ago, where we took a bare metal deployment of Hyper-V, like on this actual physical machine, and deployed it as though it were an autopilot deployment, and had it from like nothing but a raw disk to a fully deployed Windows device running Outlook, Teams, and OneDrive, logged in and ready for business in 19 minutes.
Yeah,
So that's
amazing. That's
The
amazing.
powers are amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to layer that in with actually being able to physically ship a device and the user just logs in and all that magically happens, that's fantastic. So you also mentioned, though, the ability to support organizations with long-term goals, right? And so I look at that as two different things, right? One is, we've got a product we're looking to ship in 3 years, or we have business goals that we're looking to hit, but it's also business growth, right? So talk a little bit about how we scale with organizations, but also how we scale with strategic initiatives.
Yeah. So a lot of customers that are coming to us for managed services, either from another managed service provider or first timers, they're currently in a low cost managed service setup, right? It's normally maybe antivirus, maybe an agent that's monitoring, what's going on and patching and updates, right? And then there's charges that occur after that because it's all hourly. It's all based off of how much you reach out, how much you need help from that company, right? Ours is a little different. We don't like to surprise you with costs. We like to predict your costs in advance so you don't have to randomly ask for a $40,000 budget, come November. But we absolutely love to help grow our customers and navigate the confusing IT industry, right? It's very confusing how you get to point A to point B. And every year there's different things that are coming out. AI is the new hot topic, right? But how do you implement it? Most people don't know that you have to have a clean database to even work in AI within your infrastructure, right? So we help customers understand first steps before you take, the leap into whatever journey you're going down.
Okay. So we're not just turning on technologies and saying, good luck, we'll call you in 6 months with the bill, right? Yeah,
Correct. Correct.
I will say that, like, that the job that I had prior to this, again, with the outsourced help desk, we got eaten alive, just absolutely devastated on volume of tickets. And I know from my own experience that there are a few things that you can change or control within your cloud experience that can make a significant impact in the number of tickets you need to resolve in the first place. So as an organization, are we sitting down with our managed services clients and giving them suggestions on things that will help minimize and control those types of tickets and costs over time?
Yes, yes. And we always take into account customers' budget, right? Not everybody has an unlimited IT budget, so specifically around security, there are low-cost security solutions that can help improve your security posture, and keep you more protected than the guy next door, we like to say, because, actors and people who are trying to get into your environment are looking for the easiest way in. So as long as you are a little bit more hardened, they like to say, than your neighbor, you most likely are on the good side. So that's what we like to set small companies with. And then we sort of help them. All right, here we are. We have managed services training around managed security awareness training set up. We have an incident response retainer set up, 2 low-cost items, right? Here's our next step, MDR or a possible full-on SOC solution. And we can sort of take that step-by-step approach to where you can afford everything in the end.
Awesome. All right. So then I guess we've talked a little bit about, like, how we make things work for folks and strategic growth and all that kind of fun stuff. But, like, at kind of an overarching scale, what is it about us as a managed services provider that makes us special in a very crowded market, I would assume, of other managed services providers?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things Synergy Technical does to manage services. The number one thing I like to point out for our customers is we're not only an IT company, we are a Microsoft company. We are Microsoft experts. And this plays a huge role into managed IT because there are a lot of things that you can roll into your Microsoft license that you may not know about. And that's where we come in to help you understand the Microsoft environment, help you understand what tools you already are paying for, but not, may not have rolled out or may not be used, right? Here at Synergy, we were born in the cloud, right? So we help customers figure out how to utilize the cloud on the most ROI scale, right? Access to expertise. I said this earlier, but it needs to be said again because the individuals that we work with, Adrian, you're one of them. We're very brilliant individuals who know what they're talking about, from security operations center, network operations center, help desk, to consulting on very, very complex projects within the Microsoft realm. We have a very long tenured team, which is also very impressive. You know, most of our team has been here 10 plus years. I'm one of the new ones, right? But most of our synergy team has been here for quite a bit.
Yeah.
Another reason is you get a dedicated sales representative. You know, that's not me, somebody else. You get a technical lead, and you also get a technical account manager, which is myself. With that team, you'll also receive a monthly review process to make sure you're getting help, you know, where you need it most. And that also includes our monthly reporting, which will show you if any intrusions happened, where your devices stand as far as warranties, updates, patching, you know, what was done within your environment. And it also includes our detailed help desk ticketing, so you can actually see what your employees were calling in for. You know, we analyze those reports to see if there's things that are occurring more often than they should, right? And possibly that's a project that we need to look into. Why is this happening with everybody? Why is everybody having phone issues? You know, is there a connectivity issue with something? Another reason is it's a very thorough, thought out, managed security approach. And that is a very important thing in today's world. You know, managed services used to mean something else 15 years ago. It was more of a break fix. It was more of, oh no, this is broken, we need another one, right? It's sort of evolving into a more profitable thing for businesses to consume. And it's all around security. You know, keep your data safe and secure, because the more we get into the cloud, the more complex it gets when it comes to security. Another thing is response time. I've worked for a couple managed services companies, and I have never seen a response time like I have seen at Synergy Technical. They normally get to you within 30 minutes, 45 minutes if they don't pick up the first call. Most of our issues are one-touch resolve issues. And like I said, we do have 24/7 capabilities. So if you do have those requirements within your realm of business, we can also offer that. And then finally, leverage our scale. You know, it will help you secure better pricing for licensing and software, possibly hardware needs. You know, because we are a larger company, we have more customers that buy under us. We do get some better pricing on certain things.
Awesome. So I'm going to add a couple of things to that too. One of those, and you kind of touched on it, but Synergy's approach to problem solving over the years, I see very clearly in the way that we've structured our managed services offerings. And that is that if you come to us and say, I've heard Teams is the new hotness, I want Teams, we're not just going to go, cool, Teams, here you go. We're going to say, what's the business challenge that you're trying to solve, right? We have always made it very much a big point of our solutions offerings that we want to understand actually what is the problem that you're trying to solve and help you get the right technical fit for that problem. Yep. And that is only made possible when you have a team of absolute power nerds who just love solving like real problems all the time. So you touched on that through two different statements that you made about both our techniques and the people on our staff and the tenure of the people on our staff. I mean, I've been here over 11 years, and I've been told many times you're crazy to stay in any one place in IT for more than 18 months. But you know, the opportunities and the challenges that we've been presented, and the fact that we've solved those challenges, right, and made things better for the organizations that we've supported. It has just been an absolute testament to the withering brain power of the staff. So it's always been a delight to be a part of a team that's this capable. So that's my questions. I really appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, we got through my questions a little quicker than I thought we would, but I'm going to pass it back to Christina and ask if there's anything hiding in the Q&A.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that was a lot of content that y'all were able to cover very quickly. I do have some questions for you. I know, darn it, we're giving people time back in their day. Okay, I do have a couple questions. All right, first one, do you charge per ticket or hourly when we call in for help?
So we do have a couple different structures that we have. We do have an hourly structure. You know, it's our lowest cost. You know, if you're just needing an agent and the SOC support, that is an hourly approach. But our premium and ultimate packages, we do loop that into your solution. So there are no, random costs that come up throughout the month. You can use us as much as you want, call in for help and support. And really, it helps customers, like I said before, predict the cost that's already going to come, right? Customers like the other low, because it's a low user count cost, right? But they don't see how many hours of support are going to be added on over those 12 months. We do. That's why we have built out this premium plan, because we know you don't like surprise costs, and that prevents it. So that it's a really cool thing that we're setting up for our customers.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that too, that in my previous experience with outsourced help desk and whatnot, there was one type of ticket. We used to review our tickets with the help desk monthly, and like there would be thousands of tickets, and like, what are all these tickets? And a third of them would all be things like password resets, and you start digging into it and you're getting charged for every single ticket. Well, 15 of them are from the same person in a 2-day period. Like, why am I right? And so like just the cost overruns were just astronomical. So the idea of changing that into hourly support for a user, or business hours, unlimited calls, or even 24/7 as part of a structured package, and eliminating those blind spots, oh my goodness, that would have changed everything. I mean, those were fraught call.
You're nailing it on the head there, Adrian. I mean, it's about getting the value out of your managed service company to work. Are you wanting somebody there to just sit in the background and not talk to you and not be proactive with you? Or are you looking for a partner that really has your needs and issues at heart? And we want to see you succeed, because if you succeed, we succeed, right? We're not here to just sell you something and move about our day. We are here to help provide a solution for you. So that's another reason behind why we do it that way.
Very good. Okay. So we must meet NIST and CMMC standards. Do you have a way to help us through this process? Ooh,
yeah, I touched on it earlier. Compliance as a service. It's a new thing that we rolled out this year. And we also, for some of our customers, if approved, there is a cyber insurance review process that we can go for our customers who are managed services customers. But the cyber compliance as a service can work for NIST standards, CMMC standards, HIPAA standards. There's many things that we can go towards to make sure you're heading in the right direction. Not just purchasing a tool because somebody told you that's what you need for cybersecurity insurance. We provide you an SPRS score. We provide you POAMs with executables on how to get to where you need to get, and really guide you through your journey.
And I will add on that too. So we've been doing, and I mentioned this earlier, that we've been doing compliance discussions and helping customers with this since kind of the word became synonymous with the cloud. But what a lot of organizations really struggle to put together is that compliance is just applied security. And that's really a fundamental understanding that took me a long time to get my head around. Is we always tend to think of compliance separate from security, but the reality is it just is security in practice. So yeah, it's been a great experience to roll through that. I know we've helped organizations not just with CMMC levels like 1, but like we've seen level 2, back in like the new level 2, not the old level 2, right? So we've done a lot, and I know we've done plenty of work with what I used to consider the unholy trifecta of regulatory requirements. Nonprofit children's hospitals. Like, you can't get worse than that, right? You have, underage, you have minors, you have healthcare, and you also have, there's a third one too, and I can't remember. But anyway, it's an absolutely minefield laden type of work to be in. But I know that we've done work in those spaces, and we've been very successful at doing it.
Ooh, this is kind of a loaded but a very good question. How do we know when we need an MSP provider?
That is a good question.
Depends.
And I it does depend. But it's when you are experiencing, so for medium to enterprise customers, it's when you're experiencing roadblocks, when projects are taking way too much time. that there are normally reasons why things aren't flowing, why projects aren't getting done. There's probably headaches or misunderstandings. That's a great time to reach out. Let us bring in the experts. Let us sit down with everybody and understand what is going on and help guide you through your journey. For small businesses, it's really understanding your growth and when it is required to, all right, I'm a small shop. I started my company with 5 employees. Now we're at 15. It's getting a little harder to manage IT. I really don't understand what's going on. There's alerts coming on end user devices that I have no idea what they are. That's a time. For small companies, it's the hardest thing is finding the budget, right? Because it's not in your budget previously. But I guarantee you, once you offload those tasks, specifically with small customers, you're going to see an ROI across the board and increased productivity. So it's always scary to make the step and spend money that you weren't spending, but managed services, contracts are always beneficial to cost for small businesses.
I'll chime in too with that on and say that I know for an absolute fact there are an uncountable number of organizations in the Richmond area, not even anywhere else, just in the Richmond area, that have somewhere between 25 and 50 people. No two of those devices in their environment are able to actually communicate directly with each other. They're using non-commercial grade email solutions. It's just 25 to 50 people who all basically own their own personal laptop, and they're all basically exposing each other inside that organization to all of the risks of the internet without any oversight. And I would strongly encourage you, if you are in that kind of position, this is the time right now. You've got enough people, you've got enough risk, you've got a business, you've got a product that either you sell or that you manage. And you may think you don't, IT or structured IT doesn't fit into your operations budget. I would challenge you to consider what would happen if there were any challenge to the data that you have access to. I say I know this because I've had some private conversations with some folks in the last few years, and I mean this has been pretty recent, where they know for an absolute fact that if there were any risk to their data, that would be it. That the whole organization would be
right
in a lot of challenge. So yes, I would strongly suggest anybody running an organization or in an organization that is in that smaller space that simply has never thought of IT as an organized thing. This is an amazing opportunity, an amazing product that we offer. I could not be prouder of it. Couldn't be prouder of working with you, Josh, to help advocate for it and get the word out there.
Definitely.
Okay, so on that note, so we're hearing more and more about cyber insurance and how it's becoming harder to obtain. Is there anything you can do to help us through this process? I feel like you kind of addressed this, but going back to
I sort of just touched on it. For our customers, the cyber insurance review. We do have a capability of pulling this off, where we're actually walk through your cyber insurance, step by step, and telling you what everything means, and then coming back and saying, oh, you thought you were covered for this, but you're actually not, right? In cyber insurance, legality forms, right? Legal forms gets very confusing. And you may think that you are fully covered if, an attacker were to come on and ransomware you for $400,000, right? You think you're covered, but there may be loopholes in your contract that if it came from a certain location, or if the attack was a known attack, it's not covered. Cyber insurance is a very tricky realm right now because it's insurance companies, right? Insurance companies also do cars, houses. And what are we seeing a lot of throughout the world these days? A lot of fires, a lot of storms, a lot of floodings. So insurance companies are hurting. And you're going to see that on the cyber insurance company because it's an unknown world. So you have to make sure that you know what you're signing up for if you are getting cyber insurance. And then the second part is making sure you are better protected to lower that cyber insurance premium. So we can definitely help through the process. We have experts in the field that can walk you through and really help you evaluate what you currently have.